Hello, friends. Welcome. Sail Happy Home. I'm happy to be here with you today. I got to get one of those studio umbrellas, because that light is just so freaking annoying. God. Some days being poor is just really sucky. But that's not what I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you today about paranormal. I want to talk to you about paranormal investigating. The keyword being investigating. And that means doing all the boring, dull research, and it means accepting that sometimes things are not actually paranormal and not creating, paranormal where paranormal is, or embellishing. We really have to be responsible, and a professional will be responsible and look at all things involved in the investigation. Case in point, Chihuahua, Mexico, there is a dress boutique that has an infamous mannequin in the window. It's a bridal shop. They sell formal gowns and wedding gowns and so on. And it's been around since the first part of the 20th century. And in the window is a mannequin called La Pascualita. She is a 96-year-old work of art. Now, I know we all would love to believe that everything is ethereal, that everything is not deduced scientifically. But in this case, individuals believe that this mannequin is actually the stuffed daughter of Pasquala Esperanza, who was the original dress owner. And here's the history. The story goes that the original dress shop owner, Pasquala, had a daughter who was about to get married. She was very close to getting married, and she was bitten by a black widow spider and died suddenly. And the Pasquala, the mother, of course, was beyond devastated, and that she had she was so distraught that she had her daughter's body embalmed and turned into a mannequin and placed into the window of this dress shop 96 years ago. Now, that's not true. There are indisputable proofs, evidence, fact to back up that it's not a human body. For one thing, human bodies decompose whether you like it or not. You can peel the skin off of a decomposed body, and that skin will still decompose. The only reason bodies are embalmed prior to funerals is to give it about 72 hours or so better chance of looking really good in a casket for funeral viewings. Okay, so it's not an issue. We know biologically that it is impossible, physically, scientifically, biologically impossible that this doll is a human. It's not. Now, back in the 1930s, at that time, mannequins were actually works of art, and each one was unique and individual. And shop owners that had mannequins, they took a lot of money to find artists and commission those artists to create each one at a time. And they were made with very high quality materials. Rawhide that would mimic human skin. They would be, like Da Vinci level painting expertise, so they could put the veins in and the knuckles and stuff. They used glass eyes. Glass eyes are three-dimensional balls like marbles that get put into socket orbs, unlike mannequins of today or Barbie dolls where it's just a little plastic hump and they can paint in an eye. So they looked real. They're high glass, glossy glass. So any little bit of movement is going to look like movement and reflection, and it's not. Now, they also did use human hair. It was common for them to use human hair. So after the death of this daughter, the dress owner commissioned an artist to create a mannequin that looked like her daughter, probably in memory of her daughter. And of course, they more than likely used human hair, most likely from the dead girl. and glass eyes. Everything was hand painted with extreme detail. So, whenever this doll was on display, because it was in a window where it was getting sun, and you know what sun does to things, over the years, as the sun would pass around the window, the reflections in the window and things, people insisted that she was moving, that she was watching them, that she was following them, and that's absolutely not the case. Now, with psychic residue, individuals might experience some psychic residue especially if they did use, for example, jewelry that was very special to that person. Their hair could contain some of their spiritual residue. Her spirit maybe didn't cross over and it's attached to the mannequin because she's confused and she thinks that, that might be her. Every scientist from every place on the planet, every investigator, every, for 96 years has been researching this mannequin. And, they have records. They have records that this mannequin was commissioned, that this mannequin was created from artificial means by an artist to replicate the dressmaker's daughter. That's all it is. It is physically impossible to embalm a body and preserve it for 96 years, especially in a heated, the heat from the sun and everything in the window. And people argue, well, you can see the wrinkles and you can see her veins. Well, of course you can. They painted those on there. You can actually do that. So, as much as I would love to believe that the doll is haunted, and dolls are haunted, we know that they can possess a lot of dangerous energy. If the spirit was distraught and disturbed after the mannequin was created, maybe the mother invited the daughter's spirit to inhabit the doll, or the mannequin in this case. There could be some psychic connection. There could be some paranormal spiritual connection to the mannequin. And of course, there's this legend. Well, only the manager of the store or something can handle the mannequin and dress the mannequin. That's probably because if the original dress owner had it made in the likeness of her daughter and never recovered from the death of her beautiful daughter, she more than likely, because until her death, she was the one who took care of the mannequin, she had to assign it to somebody that would treat that doll as well, or that mannequin as well, as delicately and reverently as she did. And you wouldn't trust that to just any employee. So that's why they did that. It had nothing to do with it being haunted. So when you are investigating, just to throw a REM pod in a room and have it go off for God knows what reason, could be paranormal, could not be paranormal, doesn't mean automatically that that's your investigation. My investigation yielded that a REM pod went off. That means there's a ghost. No, it doesn't. It means many millions of things. Now, of course, they are ghosts. I don't want anybody to think that I'm anti-paranormal because I believe in everything. I commune with the dead. I have since I was 4 years old. I've had more ET experiences than I care to recall. Paranormal phenomenon. I believe in Bigfoot. I am absolutely there on board. But I'm also absolutely on board with stepping back and looking at things scientifically, practically, logistically, physically, logically, before you go to paranormal. Because paranormal defines basically anything that cannot be explained by science, mechanics, the obvious. And I've seen many stories about La Paqualita, and I would love to believe that the doll is haunted. I have haunted objects in my house. I do believe that they can be. They absolutely can be. But in this case, I believe that there is too much scientific and physical evidence to dispute that the doll is actually the human body of a young girl who died 96 years ago. I also have trouble believing that it would be quote unquote haunted. And when you have glass eyes, of course, people use glass eyes. If they lose their eye, they'll get glass eyes now, or they have for, decades and decades and decades, because they replicate the human eye so accurately. So it can, in fact, look like she's following you. If the doll jitters or moves, well, it's in a bumped out store window right on a street. Any kind of vibration from vehicles, heavy vehicles, a lot of people and stuff banging on the glass, different things. Of course, that's going to cause the doll to vibrate, and that vibration could cause movement. So there's all kinds of reasons why La Pascualita could be appearing to be haunted. And I believe that there's probably something haunting the doll. But I don't believe it is the embalmed or stuffed, taxidermed body of the woman's daughter. First of all, if you think of Mexico in the 1930s and their deep spiritual beliefs and how they lived spiritually, that would have been anathema to anything they would have been allowed to do. And she wouldn't have risked the soul of her daughter just to put a dress on it and throw it in a window. So, yeah, look up La Pascualita in Chihuahua, Mexico, dress shop. It's an interesting, fascinating story, but there are way too many obvious things that could explain or do explain the activity around the doll. But as far as psychic residue and psychic energy, I absolutely believe that there is, especially if they used human hair, specifically that doll's human hair. So, yeah, I think it's probably to some degree haunted, or to some degree possessing psychic residue, but I don't believe it's the body of a dead girl. So think about it, look it up, and let me know what you think. And until next time, do good and be good.